warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is JUMRIANI Ulling. My classes is Class B 2080. My assignment is MID test English specific purpose by Mr. Adi Isma. Next, material chapter 1, the origins of English specific purpose. According to the Tom Hodgson and Alan Waiter Lancaster 1986, English for specific purpose is teaching which has specific objective. As the with most development in human active, English specific purpose hasn't a planning and coherent movement, but rather a phenomenon that grows out of a number of converging trends. These trends have operated in a variety of ways around the world, but we can identify the main reasons common to the emergence for all English specific purpose. The first is the demands of a broad new world. The second is a revolution in linguistics, and the last is focus on the learner. Next, chapter 2, the development of English specific purpose. From its early beginnings in the 1960s, English specific purpose has undergone the main phases of development. It is now a fourth phase with a fifth phase starting to emerge. For number 1, the concept of spatial language, register analysis. In linguistics, a register is very variety of a language used for a particular purpose or in a particular social setting. Register analysis is an analysis of grammatical and lexical features of the language used for particular purpose or in particular social setting. This concept comes from the participle English specific purpose. The English of a specific science differs from each other in terms of its grammatical and lexical feature of the register. Number 2, beyond the sentence rhetorical discourses analysis. In this stage, the second process of development shifted attention to the level above the sentence, as English specific purpose became closely involved with the emerging field of discourses or rhetorical analysis. It focuses to understand how sentences were combined in the courses to produce meaning. The number 3, target situations analysis. According to Hodgson and Waiter 1987, target situation analysis was aimed to take students' existing knowledge and setting it on a more scientific basis by establishing producers for relating language analyze more closely to learner reasons for learning. In English specific purpose course, there will be a process of knowing students' purpose to learn English, known as need analysis or target situations analysis. Target situation analysis will lead to teacher to form a syllabus. The number 4, skill and strategies. In this stage, we concern to the two things thinking process underlying language use, and focus on underlying interpretative strategies. For number 4, a learning content approach. English specific purpose concur with language learning rather than language use. There are some main points that to be main focus in this stage. For point 1 is this is anyhow to the main content of English specific purpose, since describing and explaining what people do with language will not automatically enable some to learn it. For point 2, therefore, a valid approach to English specific purpose must be based on an understanding of the process of the language learning. Next. Chapter 3, Course Design. Course design is a process and methodology for creating a quality learning environment and experience for students. The focus of this course design is to bring together optimal learning experience for students in an environment that supports and facilitates learning and intellectual development. Language descriptions. Therefore, important to understand the main feature of each of these descriptions in order to consider how they can be used most appropriately in English specific purpose courses. We can identify six main stages of development. For number 1, classical or traditional grammar. Description of English and other languages were based on the grammar of the classical language, Greek and Latin. These descriptions were based on an analysis of the role played by each word in the sentence. Language were described in this way because the classical language were case-based lecture. The grammatical function of each word in the sentence was made apparent by the use of appropriate inflections. For number 2, structural linguistics. This method of linguistic analysis lead in English language teaching to the development of the substitution table as a typical means of explaining its grammatical patterns. The very simplicity of the structural language descriptions entails that there are large areas of language that use is cannot explain. For number 3, language variation. For number 3, transformation generative grammar. In the early stage of its development, English specific purpose put most emphasis on describing the performance needed for communication in the target situation and paid little attention to the competence underlying it. Next, number 4, functional national grammar. Functional is concerned with social behavior and the speaker and writer statement of the intent such as an advising, threatening, describing. While it deals with reflections, of the human mind, such as time, numbers, gender, and location. This emerging in the 1970s when formal equivalents for learning various languages were difficult because the structure of formula on formal language showed considerable variation. And the last, discourse rhetorical analysis. This stage deals with how the meaning between sentences is generated. The important thing is the context of the language. Next, chapter 4, theories of learning. For number 1, behaviorism learning is a habit formation. The behaviorism learning theory is the idea that how a student's behavior is based on their interaction with their environment. It suggests that behaviors are influenced and learned for external forces rather than international forces. For number 2, mentalism thinking as a rule governed activity. Having established thinking as an activity governed by rules, it is a short step. The conclusion is that learning doesn't form habit but no. Derive rules, a process by which individual experience are used to formulate hypotheses which are tested and modified by subsequent experience. The number 3, cognitive code. Learners as thinking beings. The cognitive code view of learning seems to answer many theories and problems. This makes students feel and they place it at the center of the learning process. By emphasizing that learning will only occur when the material available for study is meaningful to students. Next, for chapter 6, target need analysis. Target need analysis. For number 1, necessities are about what the learners has to know in order to function effectively in the target situation. In other words, necessities also mean the need of someone to be success in his or her business. Moreover, according to the Alright 1982 quoted in West 1994, once is the skills which a student see as being relevant to himself or herself. Number 2, lacks. Lacks is the difference between the student's present competence and the desired competence. Alright, 1982 quoted in which 1994, moreover, based on English for specific purpose book like is about what the learner knows already, so that teacher or the facilitator can decide which of the necessities the learner lacks and print 1079 page 50-60. And number 3, once. According to Alright 1082 quoted in West 1994, once is the tools need on which students put a higher priority in the available limited time. Moreover, according to the Hutchison and Waters 1987 definition of wants is perceived of subjective needs of learning needs. And the last chapter 7 approaches to course design. Course design is the process by which the raw data about a learning need is interpreted in order to produce and integrate series of teaching learning experience. The aim of course design is to read the learner to a particular stage of knowledge. There are probably many different approaches to English specific purpose course design, as there are courses designers. However, we can identify there are main types of courses design: language concerned courses design, skills concerning courses design, and learning concerned approach. For the first is language concerned course design. This is the simplest and probably the most familiar type of course designed for English teacher. The language concerned course design process aims to illustrate direct possible relationship between the target situation analyzed and the English specific purpose course content. And the second, skills concerned courses design. A skills concerned approach is based on two basic participles, namely theoretical and pragmatic. The basic theoretical hypothesis is that underpinning the behavior of many languages are certain skills and strategies which are used by learners to generate or understand this course. And the last, learning controlled approach. A learner-controlled approach is based on the participle that learning is determined entirely by students. As teacher, we can influence what we teach, but what learner is determined by the learner himself. Learning is seen as a process in which learners use their knowledge or skills they have to understand your information flows. So this is all for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Dadah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.